Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Building Empires Network. You got your host, Miss Andrea Cruz and Miss Christina Franco.
Good morning.
And today we have a special guest, Miss.
Hey guys, I'm Luis, 2x4 Construction, aka Flip for Profits. You can find me on Instagram. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. We're glad that you came. We've been trying to get him to come in, but he got sick. So we're glad he's here now.
He's a busy guy.
Yes.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
So anyway, so tell us, Luis, how did you get started in the real estate world?
Yeah, great question. I think to answer that, I need to take a couple steps back.
Let's do it.
So I was at the time 20 years old, hotshot club promoter.
Oh, okay.
And I was making pretty good money actually. So I was club promoter by night, and I was working at Chase by day. And one day there's a guy that comes in and deposits at the time, it was like the biggest check that I had ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, what do you do?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm in construction and I do real estate. I'm not kidding you. I deposited that check, and about 2-3 hours later, I had it in my mind. I was like, I was, it was kind of a slow day. I was sitting there thinking, like, if this guy could do this, I could do this.
Right.
And so I put in my 2 weeks notice.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Dang.
like that. I put in my 2 weeks notice. And, at the time I was like, well, I've got a little bit of startup capital from club promoting, and I saved up some money. I blew a lot of it. It was really stupid, but I saved up a little bit. And that was the birth of my first company. It was called Revitalize.
Okay. I like that.
And actually Revitalize was a little power wash company.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But bear with me, guys. Like it all unfolds. So what happens is we start a little power wash company, and I'm the one getting super dark outside power washing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this is for the birds. But then one day, about 2 months in, we had booked out some jobs. I got a lot of my sales experience from promoting at the clubs. We were talking before we went on live that I used to work at Best Buy. So at Best Buy, shout out to Best Buy. Those guys helped me learn to sell.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the catalyst of me building up. Club promoting was marketing, that Best Buy was sales, and then working at Chase, that was like the eye opener. I was like, wow, I'm seeing people's deposits coming in. I'm seeing people's money going out. I'm like, oh, dang, I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah.
or wow, that looks cool. And so, so I started Revitalize, and in month 2, I get a phone call because at that time I was building up my internet marketing for Revitalize. I get a phone call from my website, and they go, yeah, we want you to come look at this building. And I go, a building? Okay. And he's like, yeah, power wash it. And so I go over there, and I dress up, not like this. I was dressed up really nice. I wasn't dressed like I was going to Puerto Rico.
He's going to Puerto Rico.
Yeah. I was dressed like, like Estilo Christina and Estilo Andrea. They're really nice to dress. I dressed up really nice, and I go up and I look at this building, and the guy goes, can you do this? Now, for those of you that are curious, it's here in Houston. It's on Memorial Drive. I look up at this building, and it's like 125 feet in the air. And I'm like, yeah, I can do this.
You did it?
I didn't do it.
Oh.
But check this out. We did the work, but I found out people would be willing to do that kind of work for far less than what I quoted.
Right.
I quoted like 80,000, and I got that job done for like 30.
Nice.
Yeah. So we did that in about a month.
Wow.
What that did was that opened up my eyes to go, oh, wow, people specialize in this kind of thing. There's probably other specialists for other kinds of things. So in that same token, we washed that building, and he goes, can you paint it? I go, yeah, I can do that. I don't know. At the moment, I didn't know anything about painting, but I was like, yeah, we can do that. And so it just kind of blew up from there, blossomed into a full general construction company over a couple of years. And we went from 0 employees to 43 staff members in the office in 3 years.
Wow.
yeah. So 25-year-old Lewis was, I was on top of the world. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But it came with a lot of pressure.
Right.
And so that pressure at some point really took over. And there was a partnership with me and my dad. And I felt like it was overwhelming. I was like, hey, Pops, I'm out.
Right.
At that moment, I knew that I needed to scale down. So I started 2x4 construction. All the while, I want to take one more step back. When I saw that check at Chase, I knew I wanted to get in real estate.
Yeah.
It was like a no-brainer. My grandpa right now buys stuff from the auctions. He's been doing that for years. I seen that. So I kind of grew up around it,
Right.
but I didn't understand
What?
what it was,
Right.
how it was. And when I saw that check, I go, okay, I'm just going to figure this out. So silly me, it took me 9 years to get to this point. So I built 2x4 construction. We're a rather lean team, but all the processes that I learned from, doing really big multi-million-dollar projects and then even small projects, I took that and found a way to compact it with a much leaner team. Not to do the same revenues, but we're doing similar margins. And so all that to say, I did all of this at 2x4 construction with the intent of, hey, I'm going to go get into real estate.
Right.
And so about a year ago, about 15 months ago, I get a phone call from, you guys know James Toller, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, shout out James Toller.
Shout out James Toller.
Love that guy. Okay, James Toller calls me and says, hey, do you want to come to my house? I was like, what? This is crazy. Do I want to come to your house? And he's like, yeah, we're gonna talk about our 5-year goals. And I was like, oh, okay. So it was me, James Toller, and Nathan Haley. Shout out Nathan Haley.
Shout out Nathan.
This is how I got my start in real estate. We sat down and talked about our goals. Now, in my mind, I already had an intent of, okay, I've got all this construction knowledge. I'm going to go do my own flips. And these guys, their goals blew my mind. Like I was thinking right here, and these guys were like, I was like, whoa. And it opened my mind even further that, wow, there's a whole nother level to this. And so because of that moment that I sat down, I mean, we were there for like 5 hours. It was intense. And the thing is, in those 5 hours, I learned what I was actually capable of if I applied myself to those goals.
Right.
And so in September 2021, I actually just pulled the trigger on a flip, and James was my lender on that. And that was like the first flip that I purchased. And then in December of 2021, I got my first wholesale deal where we put it under contract for $170,000, and we sold that contract for $295,000.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's your first wholesale.
That was my first wholesale deal.
Jesus, what a nice way to get real estate.
Yeah,
Man, I wish that's how much I lost.
well, but I'm going to tell you something. What I think people don't see is that even though I made that much money, that money was a symbol of the mentality that I brought to the table.
Exactly.
Because I've already gone through the L's. I've lost, and I tell people when I host my Nailing Your Flip Numbers class, it's the free class. I tell people I've lost more than $500,000, so you don't have to. So even though you lost 100-some thousand on the first deal, I've done that 5x over my career. Now you might have lost more too. I don't know, but I'm just saying I've endured and struggled and figured things out and beat my head against the wall to figure things out.
Yeah, I know.
In the exact same manner. So what people don't see is that was 9 years in the making, and it was 9 years. For me, it was 9 years. I could have been doing this. I could have accelerated and done this 9 years ago, and I'm sure there's people who are 40, 50, 60 going, I wish I should have, I
Right.
thought I could have. And it's like me I just turned 30. I'm like, man, I wish I would have started. I see guys at 21 doing this. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. But yeah, it was my first wholesale deal.
That's
Nice,
awesome.
nice.
Really
So
nice.
that's what got me into real estate.
Yeah, that's nice. that was a good one for the first time.
I know.
I'm
I'm
like home
Jesus.
run.
Yeah. But my first flip is not going that way. So I bought that one and this is crazy, guys. A lot of people talk about this. I've been doing construction for like almost a decade. And my first flip was actually nightmarish.
Right.
Thank God I'm not going to lose money. So here's the importance of like buying deals right. So I bought this house in Galveston for $212,000. My original construction budget was $125,000. This was me thinking, yeah, I'm just going to do this and this and this and this. And the emotion of buying that, I think, was like I was so emotionally charged to buy that I was like, yeah, 125 will make it work. My actual construction budget blew up to about $220,000.
Oh,
But that property appraised for $655.
well, that's
There
good.
you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So the market saved me, but I'm just like, wow, people can make those mistakes even with that knowledge. And today, would I have bought that? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Because that pushed me into real estate. Yeah.
That's cool.
That
That is
is
really
cool.
good. And you got to think about that because he's the one that's contracting out the work.
Mhm.
And that is where it gets very expensive for people when they don't understand what he just said. He went in with a budget number of 170, 125 and went up to 2.
Well, and the reason it went up to 220 is I didn't anticipate the need to, I was working so I didn't realize in that moment, I've done so many projects and I know what this costs. It's like, come on. But the issue was like, I didn't plan for that. I made a buying decision in a day. Like from the time that we said, here, sign on the contract to it's funded, it was like 72 hours.
You wanted it.
So I wanted it.
He
I was
wanted it.
So I was just like, glance it over, boom. And I broke my first rule. And I don't mind sharing that because now, like yesterday, a wholesaler sent me a deal and I went and walked it. And I'm like, no, there's this burning feeling of, oh my God, I went over budget, $100,000 on my first flip, and it's not because I didn't know what things cost, but that thing was a monster. There was like, termite damage. I found termite damage.
Yeah.
I had to repipe, replumb. And it's like, those are the things that I tell my clients now, like, hey, think about that.
Yeah.
Like if you factor that number in and it doesn't make sense to buy it, don't buy it.
Don't buy it.
Yeah, don't buy unless you're just crazy like me in the first deal that I did that. I just so happened to get $100,000 over appraisal. Like there's no way that would have worked out in in other scenarios, especially in today's market.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, all that to say that I went over budget because the permitting blew it up. I had an intent to hold it as an Airbnb, and thank God James told me to permit things because I started seeing people. I had an intent to just pull a general remodel, and he's like, "No, you know what? You should permit the whole thing." It did cost me more money, and it cost me more holding time. But what it allows me to do now is when I'm going to go sell it, or even in the future if I go to sell it, depending if I hold it or sell it, I'm not going to get as much kickback from potential buyers, inspectors. So yeah, like I had the massive win, and I have the massive headache on this flip, and I've got another flip right now that hopefully we get a contract on it. That one's scheduled. That one went way smoother, way smoother. The second flip we took on, also in Galveston, we bought that one for $200,000, put in $80,000, and we've got it on the market right now for $389,000. So if it sells, that's going to be. We've got it estimated like $80,000, and went so smooth. went in and out 2 months. And because I practiced those principles, right? The wholesaler said, Lewis, you got to buy this for $240. I said, come on, bro. I'm not buying this for $240. I need to replumb. I need to do the electrical. And I followed those principles. And because of that, some things did pop up, but I bought it deep enough so that it still made sense at the end of the day.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
To
no,
get out of
that's
that,
good.
but the stress going
Yeah.
through it.
That's the reason I stay away from like those kind of houses. I like the easy ones, get in, get out, get paid.
Yeah.
Because I like volume, but either or they're good because I know some flips can have really big spread, you know.
No, you're absolutely right. That was the learning lesson from the first flip is that, okay, I really need to find things that I can have a for sure scope of work, because even if it had, even if it had a need for replumbing or repiping, I don't mind that if the spread is enough. But I just have to factor that in, and that's what I teach in Nailing Your Flip Numbers. Like, it's like, if I go buy a deal, I'm going to categorize it as lipstick, cosmetic, or full gut.
Right.
If I know that I'm buying a house 1975 or older, I probably have to rewire or replumb. And a lot of sellers go, or even go, no, you could probably cut, or even some flippers, they go, no, you could cut corners on that, you could do that. But the problem is, when you're actually in there and you open up the walls and you're like, man, I can't ethically go back and sell this all messed up and janky looking. Like, I would rather go in knowing that I'm going to provide a great product at a price point where I still make money, as opposed to going, I'm gonna instead of replumbing, re-electrical, I'm just put that in my pocket and sell it. I think some people operate like that, because I've had to do bids for people like that, where they're like, yeah, just cover that up. And I'm like, I don't feel good about doing that. So, I think what the point is when you buy deals, buy right. Buy right. And so, thankfully on the first flip, I bought it right, even though my estimate wasn't even on point. I bought it right. That was my saving grace.
Right.
The first one, the next flip, I bought it perfect. The rehab went perfect. Now we're just waiting on the exit. But so that's kind of been my journey in real estate and getting into it. So.
Right. And there's also a thing, you guys, it's called the integrity of the build. They have up to 5 years to claim against you for that. So if you're claiming that you are the rehabber, the builder, and everything, I did this work, even if you're a wholesaler, flipper, or whatever, you are in place for them to come back at you. And that's that is being, the integrity of the build. So they have up to 5 years to come and claim whatever messed up that you said you did the work on.
Now, is that on a regular house or just like
Any.
a flip?
Any.
Oh, any
If
house.
you claim that you did the work. Yeah. If you
I
claim
see.
that
Like,
you did
you're
the
like,
work.
hey, knew this, knew that, or something.
Yeah. And
Got it.
because of the fact you're acting as the contractor, they're going to come back at you. It's kind of like when people say, when you wholesale a deal, I ain't got nothing to do with it. I just wholesaled it. But your name being on that paper just made you just as liable as the owners.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people miss that step.
That's so crazy. So I had lunch with a wholesaler last week, and he shot me a deal, because the thing is, working in construction, you get to see everything that the investors see. And I think a lot of investors go, oh yeah, we'll just buy it, put a little money into it, and call it a day. But the thing is, on this particular deal, I mean, this was crazy. It had been red tagged all the way from 2018 or 2017. So the problem was that first red tag, they sold it to somebody, and then that person sold it to somebody. It ended up to, I'm not gonna say any names, but you guys know the big, one of the biggest wholesalers in Houston, that big company.
There's a lot of them.
Well, that's good.
No, it's a big one. Ended up
Does
in
it
their
start
hands.
with big? Give me a hint. I guess it does. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
Is a big wholesaler, and the thing is, it ended up in a flipper's hands. They got red tagged, and this lady bought, and now maybe I shouldn't say what status she's in. Yeah. She's in a status where let me just stop. She's in a position where her plumbing doesn't work. Yeah, it's not inhabitable.
Yeah.
And so she's like in a position where she's sleeping in hotels and like, oh my God. So I get sent this because it's like, Lewis, can you fix these problems? And I go, yeah, I can. But if somebody would have just at the beginning said, hey, I'm not going to buy this deal unless it's at this price point because I understand what's going in this flip.
Right.
It would have saved the wholesaler's name. It would have saved this poor lady who's sleeping in hotels. Yeah, it would have saved a lot of people. And so I think it's important to understand, those entry points and like understand what I'm going to place into the rehab, what the market is saying. I think it's much more than just, hey, I'm going to buy this deal. There's some paint on it and let's go.
Yeah, no, it's a lot more. Actually, a friend of mine sent me, he had a question and he's like, hey, Christina, there's this person, she's a realtor, and she went and did a wholesale deal with an heir, but she bought 1% of that heir. There's like 9 of them. And the crazy thing is this realtor thinks that, well, you can't claim nothing against me against Trek because I did it in my wholesale business, but you hold a license. Don't ask me because I'm going to tell on you if you're doing something wrong. So it's coming for you. But, it's we all have to act with integrity. Yeah. I think as people, as business people, as friends, as family members, you have to have integrity, and own up to what your responsibilities are. If you're going to lose, you're going to lose. And if you're going to win, you're going to win. Wins feel great. Losses don't feel great, but you learn from them. And it's a better gain with a loss than a win because you learned not to lose forward,
not to do that thing again.
Yeah, not to do that thing again. So so those were some really good tips. I hope y'all wrote those down. So if you are a realtor acting as a wholesaler, know that you're licensed, better. And it's not going to go good for you when you come up against somebody that knows and has experience of the things that you're not supposed to be doing. Your business doesn't govern you when you knew better.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
So then another thing is when you are doing the work and you're posing as the contractor, and I did it all myself, sometimes it is better to, give it off to another contractor than do it all yourself because they will come back after you. They have up to 5 years. So it's just integrity. It's doing everything right. And, there was another one where they knew that there was an heir and he was adopted and they didn't say that he was a part of the family.
Wow.
He came back and guess what? That house is built. Everything is done. They didn't have a supplemental on the insurance on it from title. So, there you go. So just have some integrity. I mean, I know it's tough right now. A lot of people are having issues because everything is slowing down. But it's not slow. It hasn't stopped.
It hasn't stopped.
Yeah. No. So just do things, pace forward and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay.
Yeah. Cause I mean, like we have, a couple of hotels going on and they're like closing. I mean, they're getting contracts slowly.
Yeah.
So they're getting them. And the good thing is like, okay, we got one on this one, that one. And then eventually they'll start to close. So now the volume of, we're about to pick 2 more. So then when those close, then these will go in. So they kind of, you just have to make up for it.
Yeah.
Lost time.
Yeah. As long as you got something coming in, it's still moving for you.
Listings and stuff. We're doing it. We do everything.
Yeah, you do everything.
Or finance, anything.
Whatever makes
any options, man. If we don't know it, we'll think of it and we'll make it up.
Yeah.
Well, that's
call it a service.
That's kind of what so guys, y'all were not fortunate because we were talking before we went live.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear. We can try to.
But we'll kind of recap. So we were talking that when I had built that first company, Revitalized, to 43 staff members, like a lot of people think that's sexy. You go, wow, I've got and at that point we have it's my dad, CEO, me, like VP. And then, we had at that point manager for each department. And it was built out like crazy. So people go like, yeah, that's what I strive for. It's what I, want to attain. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is like they say, what's the saying? Like heavy is the head of the one who holds the crown, or something like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like when you have that burden or responsibility,
It is.
I mean, it doesn't actually equate to more money, and so kind of one of the things that I've always juggled this, because in my mind I go, man, I want to hire these people and do these things, and I was looking at some analytics in my Slack account. I've owned it since 20. You guys know what Slack is?
No.
I've heard of it.
Okay, so Slack. Okay, so Slack is like, so we on and off have had offices, but that's like the central hub of where we communicate for projects, and it's like having an office but online, basically.
Okay.
And we broke it out into different like channels for our projects, and channels to discuss KPIs and stuff like that. Well, I was looking at my analytics, and constantly I would see this blimp of, oh, we hired somebody, oh, we fired someone, oh, we hired someone, fired someone. And it was this chart showing this crazy progression of up to 43 people. And when I reviewed that versus like my books and look back to go, that's what we were talking about offline, was like, if you're not looking at your bank account daily, what was it that you said?
If you don't have, that we need to put things more on paper, because if you can't see the clock, then you'll never know what time it is.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about. We've gotten into this world where everything we can just kind of bury into our phones. But it's kind of like when you put those inspirations on your mirror, it's a constant reminder. And I still have these binders and books that have everything that's written out. I was taught that way. And I'm programmed that way. I refuse to just put it all away, even though I let the kids do it that way. I don't, because I can tell, even on a water bill, as a multifamily owner, property owner, I can see when there's extra people that just moved in, or it's a water leak because the water bill just went up. And I have a whole thing like this. That's like, it's either 600, 800. Either I got
who moved in, and Sancho moved in.
Yeah, and that's how you kind of look at it. It's kind of like the old way, the graphs, the way I did it. And I know that the computer does a lot of things, but that's where I revert to that saying, if you can't see the clock on the wall, you don't know what time it is. So if you're not analyzing your bank every morning, that was the other one. It's like waking up without praying for your day. It's not going to go right if you don't know the balance of your book. And I do those things for that reason.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that I was learning was when I went back to look at the P&L was we were not making more money with more staff. And so what I realized was I just had the wrong butts in the seat.
Yeah.
And so I was just putting a warm body in a seat that really didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
That was a big learning lesson for me back in like 2017 or so. And so when I reset at that time, and that's about the time that 2x4 construction started, I was realizing, whoa, I'm making more money with 8 people than I am with 43.
Right.
With far less projects, far less stress, far less overhead, far less just redundance, losses. Yeah, because there's a liability when you have that many people. And so kind of where I was going with that was that coming into 2023, one thing we can kind of brush on is goal setting, right? That like if I have X amount of overhead, that I've set a goal to where I wanted to do less construction projects and more like flips, hotels, wholesale, stuff like that. Because when I look at my time overall spent and the time it takes to acquire, the time it takes to execute and fulfill, construction is great. Like, don't get me wrong. Thank God for construction. That's how I got here, right? But man, some of the flippers that I see sometimes, I made 80,000 on a deal, made 100,000 on a deal, made 50,000 on a deal. Or like you said, on the volume side, like let's say you do 40,000, but you did that 20 times and your overhead's low. That's wonderful, you know? And so more importantly than just the amount of money you make, I
Mhm.
think it's about what is it that you want in your life,
Right.
being aligned with the things that make you happy.
Mhm.
I think that's so much more important, at least for me, coming in 2023, because I've been there, I've done that, I've seen that big range of, wow, I had all these people, had all this revenue. I saw all that revenue go out.
Mhm.
Then I've been at a
Go
point.
in now. You're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
wait.
Yeah, come back.
And you're just seeing it go in like this.
Yeah, and it's like, I think one of the biggest things is about having a better lifestyle.
Right.
And so I think the key, and going back to what I talked about with James and Nathan that day, was they're not trying to kill themselves flipping and doing work all day. And it was so incredible. Their goal sets that they were setting was like, how can I be a better family man, or how can I be a better, better husband, better brother, better
send my
friend.
husband to that club. I'm just kidding.
They're in Seabrook.
They're in Seabrook. I have their address. But
Yeah.
Like, honey, you need to make friends in Seabrook.
Tell her. King James.
Yeah, King James London. So thank God for that guy, because he really put me on like a much more than just, I have to hit this, because for so long it was just business. Like, I have to hit a revenue goal, and never like, oh, I have to spend time with people, or and so this year I'm really focused on building a business that fits around the lifestyle, as opposed to building a business that,
fits around an ego.
Yeah, fits. Man,
Right there.
There you go.
Woo, somebody quote that.
Yeah.
You need to
quote that.
You need to quote that.
We're gonna make a shirt.
Yeah, get a shirt, put it on a hat.
I mean, we're gonna get a shirt, start selling it.
Yeah. Build a
Get
business.
the link below.
Yeah.
Build
there
a
you go.
business, not an ego,
Yeah.
and build a lifestyle, not an ego.
Yeah.
So, man, you nailed it. Because
I've lived it.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. When I go back, and even today, like, wow, it sounds great. You had 43 staff members, but was I happy?
Right.
Hell no.
It doesn't sound like happiness.
No, it wasn't.
It's a lot of
It's
a lot
not.
of people to manage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mental breakdown.
Yep.
Yeah. So plenty of times this big old dude here was in a corner of the room, just sitting down in the dark, like, wow, what am I doing with my life? Plenty of times.
Right.
And so it wasn't really until like the last year I felt really crystal clear on like where I'm going with my life, where my goals are. And I think that real estate is such a powerful vehicle to get there.
Right.
And so, a lot of people think you need to have, the big team, the big conglomerate, and you can get there like that. So not knocking anybody who has that. But if it fits your lifestyle, if it makes you happy, go for it.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead. No, go ahead, girl.
Yeah,
Go
and
ahead.
that's one of the things that, Christina always puts in my head, like, Andrea, as you're building, make sure you're not just building the business, but you're building your family, the business all together. And, I agree, because sometimes you get so focused on just building the business that you kind of forget everybody that's around you, because you're just like, oh, I got to build. And you have that image that you got to work all these hours so you can become successful. And which is not even true. It starts with, you build your spiritual relationship first, family, and then the business follows after.
Right.
And it gives it a better flow, because I feel you find true happiness, because even if you got the money to get the Ferrari or whatever, but you're still missing a hole inside, then you're like, I have all this stuff, but I'm not happy. And it's because the way you're doing things, so, and that's, we talked about that, and it's true. You have to do things in peace. Like, hey, do I love what I'm doing? Is it costing me stress and I need to not do it? Make sure that I'm not overworking, hours, and I didn't get to see my kid go to sleep, things like that. You get to, because that starts to mess with you after a while. You're like, man, what am I becoming? And so it's good that you catch that because some people go so deep into it,
Mhm.
then they're like, I can't even get out anymore.
Right.
You know?
And what happens is people pose a facade, especially on Facebook and everything. It's all the pretty pictures. It's not the dark sides. But I'm going to tell you what, God has a way every single day to put it back in your head.
Mhm.
How many of you had bad dreams?
Yeah.
That's God trying to tell you something. Slow down.
Mhm.
Slow down. It's your own conscience speaking to you. It is the way that God's putting it in your life, but you don't want to see it. When you close your eyes, and it's like a deep meditation because your conscience is speaking to you. And at that point in life, if you're there, you're not resting.
Yeah.
So that means something's really bothering you, and you really need to look at everything. I really think so. And it's like after a couple months ago, I literally had to reposition myself, and I told Andrea, I said, girl, I finally looked at my whole picture on a paper, and I was able to sleep.
Yeah.
I slept for a week. I didn't go anywhere but here one Wednesday. That was it. And
she did. I was
that
like,
was it.
are
I
you
was
still at
asleep.
home?
I'm asleep. And that was it. It was the greatest rest.
That's good.
Yeah. And
Good
when
for
you're
you.
able
That's what I
to
need.
rest, that's peace.
Yeah.
That is what you want. That's what you need to look for.
I want to add to that. So
Mhm.
like one of the things that I've really focused on, and this has been a big tidbit for me, is
Mhm.
everything that I do goes on my calendar.
Right.
So what people don't realize, if you look at my calendar, I intentionally block off time to do things that are important to me.
Right.
So it's not just like, and I think a lot of people don't realize, like, just because you're in the office or just because you are, in a place where you think you have your laptop open, it doesn't mean you're being productive. It doesn't mean you're working. I can't tell you how many times when I would see, because that's one thing I did do. I did, when I had up to about 20, 30 people, I realized, man, I've got to figure out, like, are we still being productive? But I couldn't micromanage them. Up to about 20 people, I was using something called screenshotmonitor.com.
Okay.
So I was checking, like, hey, are you doing this thing? Are you?
Mhm.
And I was like, man, how can I do that for 30 people? This is impossible.
Right.
Well, one thing that shifted my mindset was, instead of tracking, what they're doing with their time, track what are they doing in their actions.
Mhm.
So one of the things so it's important to have a CRM. I use Pipedrive.
Mhm.
In Pipedrive, I can check to see the number of activities that they've done especially like on the sales side, because that's what I was in charge of, sales and marketing. I would check to see, are you picking up the phone to talk to people?
Exactly.
Are you doing those things? And so it doesn't mean, and I think that's where I was going with this, it doesn't mean you have to call people for 15 hours a day.
Mhm.
If that makes you happy, go for it. I know some guys that do that, and that, kudos to you.
Mhm.
Right. But it's like, I put it in a period of time that usually I prospect. Kind of what my day looks like now is I prospect in the mornings. So this is actually about the time that I would be wrapping up to go to lunch, but I'd prospect in the mornings from 8:30 to 11:30, and at about 11:30, I live where I can go walk on the trail.
Mhm.
I go walk on the trail, go get my steps in, so I wear my Apple Watch, and it's like, then I get back, refresh, eat, and boom, I can choose what to work on in my business. But it feels more freedom based, because now I've said, okay, for me to grow my business in a productive way, I need to do so many tasks within this time. And after I'm done with those tasks, if I choose to work, wonderful. If I choose to go hit up the park or go, whatever, I can do that in my time. And so it's like, I want to go ride my bike down the trail, I'm gonna go do that.
Right.
And so I build my goals around saying, okay, if I need to make, and I'm gonna share with everybody what my goals are. So I'm gonna be, is it okay I be transparent?
Oh, hell yeah. We love that.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So when I had 43 people, I had an overhead of like $350,000 a month.
Mhm.
I don't ever want to be there again.
Mhm.
So my overhead roughly nowadays, I would say, is about between $20,000 and $25,000 a month.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And my goal is, so times 12, So let's say it averages about $22,000 a month. If I try out different things, it flexes up. But let's say it's 20, just for a round number, times 12 is $360,000. That is inclusive of all my tools, the marketing, whatnot. And I have a rather lean team. I use virtual assistants to do a lot of things I don't want to do. So cold calling and organizing and all that good stuff. All my task is to generate new. Just for people who are in my shoes, if you want to do this, what I do is I focus on business development. I want to make sure that I'm surrounding myself with people who can help elevate the business, and vice versa. It's not just taking; it's how can I help them too. I think a lot of people don't realize I have to provide value before I can ask for something.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I'm going to touch on that. Let's take a mental note there real quick. But my goal is I want to do $1 million in revenue between flips and wholesaling, and I still have a construction company. So I'm just going to select the clients that I want to work with, basically. That's where I'm at.
That's a nice place to be.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. If it doesn't fit a certain look I'm looking for, I don't want to do it. I know there's probably guys who in the construction world that hate I'm saying that. So if y'all want referrals, I got you.
There you go.
But that said, $1 million revenue versus 360 overhead. That's nothing to sneeze at. And I did it in a way, I built out the goals in a way where I know, okay, this year I'm looking for 12 flips that make $40,000. This year I'm looking for, 24 wholesales at $15,000 a piece. Somewhere in between, that might mean instead of a wholesale, maybe I do a hotel. I got to learn from Andrea. The hotel queen over here. And
you're never gonna go back to flips
after.
Yeah. And then with that money, if it goes exactly to the plan, which I need that revenue, which means I need that many contracts, which means from those contracts I need so many leads. From those leads I need so much data, etc. So I kind of work backwards from there, and it works in a way where my goal is to prospect during a certain amount of time. I feel like nobody out prospects me. You put me on the phone, and hey, it's a game changer.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. You want to talk to me for more than 2 minutes? Game over. We're gonna be best friends. You're gonna invite me for coffee and
come on over.
Yeah. We're gonna do business, right? So it's like I set a certain amount of time for prospecting. A lot of people work till 3, 4, 5 p.m. Don't even have lunch. I don't do that. I set my time like, hey, I stopped doing this. And I organize myself in a way where during the afternoon, I touch base with my assistants and make sure like, hey, are we on track? How are we doing? And then I'll follow up with the leads from there. And so the thing is, living that life by design, I feel like I'm less stressed, making more money, less, excuse my French, but less bullshit to deal with. 30 transactions in a year is not unheard of.
No, it's not.
No, it's not impossible. And so, but that comes from me saying like, how am I going to get there? I went to a free class last week, Jared Graves. That thing was, wow. He was breaking out exactly what I do, but in a little bit more colorful and organized way through traction. So
I finally read that book.
I
did.
That's like
I was
my
fighting myself because I hate to read.
Traction is how I operate, because it's
it is. Yeah.
What did I say I was going to touch base on? Did anyone take note on that?
Yes, I did.
What
You
was
said, you said I'm going to bring, I had it.
You didn't take notes.
I did. I had it on my finger. I
didn't even say yes because I didn't.
Can we rewind? Somebody on live remind me.
No, you said I was gonna bring like not quality, but it was something. Oh man, it's right there. I just had it. It's right there.
Quality over quantity.
No, you
You
said
said I'm gonna touch note on, and then it just blanks.
I know, right?
I'm like,
God, why did you
I heard
do
you say
that?
I'm gonna touch note.
It's
Does
usually when you ask
somebody on the live want to remind me?
What was it? Do you? I know what it was. It was It's with an A word.
It's with an A word.
The A word.
Yeah,
There's
okay,
plenty of
yeah.
A words I know of.
All right, let's
People
play
call me.
Hangman. It's with the A, but it ends with an S.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank because it's not. You said, and I'm gonna bring.
I'm gonna be more selective.
No.
I don't know. I have ADD, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, it doesn't hurt because
My-
I do too.
I
We all do
and this goes back to if you're not putting it on paper, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
That was probably a brilliant thought that
It
just.
was. I know it was. I know it was gonna be. I know it was gonna be.
But it's so important. If you look at how I organize my and maybe I'll show the live people how I organize my thoughts. Everything gets broken out. I use something called workflowy. You guys ever heard of that?
No.
Workflowy is. I want you to think about this. Imagine making a Google Doc with bullet points, right? And when you open that Google Doc, like if you open that bullet point, it leads to a bullet point. And those bullet points lead to bullet points. Like my mind works so fast that if I don't write down, and that's what I spend usually my afternoons. If I don't take time to go, oh man, I need a brain dump, because if I don't do that,
That's what we talked about.
Yeah, brain dumping.
Yeah.
Get that shit over your head.
yeah, I won't sleep at night.
That's
Like,
probably why I don't sleep. That's probably
workflowy. But what I do is I'm constantly writing out job descriptions or like tasks I'm going to delegate or like budgeting, like when I'm going to spend money, how I'm going to spend that money. I'm constantly tracking the money that's coming in, the money that's going out.
It's hard when you have ADD. It's too much in your
I'm mad
mind.
because I don't have my notepad because I always have a little notepad.
And it's hard for other people to relate to you because they think you're like this, like,
Yeah.
you know, because I work at a speed. My mind, it's already ahead of me than I am, you know. So when people are like, oh, well, this, I'm like, no, hurry up, you know.
Spit it out.
What is it you're going to tell me? It's tough, but.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, if all entrepreneurs are not built the same. However, 10% of us are, where the guys and girls, the people that are actually doing, they're actually pushing revenue. We know, like, oh man, I got this fire here, I got to put it out, but I also have to do this thing, and I got to do that thing. And if you don't prioritize, you're just going to get sucked into a whirlwind of to-dos. And so it's like, that's a big part. Before that 8:30, I've taken 30, 45 minutes to think of all the things I need to do. And the things that I feel like, man, I put it into 3 kind of categories. Like, I have to do this and it needs to be done. And usually it's the things that drive revenue. I need to get this done, but I don't have to do this, and I want to do this, and I'll get it done later.
Right.
So it's like the top, and I always prioritize the revenue producing tasks. Always, that's always number one. It'll always come before anything else. The office work, the pretty logo stuff. Like, I'm gonna go chase that money first, and then if I have time in my day, then I will do the rest.
Yeah, and that's also part of traction, where it's like, do you want, like, what is it that you like to do? What are you not good at? What is it that you less like to do?
Right.
So, because it starts from you. So, like, okay, what is it that I like to do? So I can focus more on that.
Right.
And if I don't like to do this, well, then how can I delegate this to someone else who likes to do that? But you have to do the same test to that whoever you hired. Because then you put, we talked about putting the wrong person in the wrong seat. You're like, oh, you're good at talking, I'm gonna put you in sales. And like, well, once you realize, well, I don't like to do sales, I like to talk, but not do sales. So it's always very important to do that, because then you get to see what they want to do. Because then people will be more happier doing their job.
Right.
That's so true. And that kind of goes back which by the way, guys, I when we were not on live, I saw this really cool piece of paper that you were talking
Where
about
is it?
earlier.
I left it out there.
Go get
It's,
it.
yeah.
Go get it. It's
BRB.
only fair. It's
Yeah,
only
we,
fair.
we were talking about that piece of
I gotta share
paper.
my goodies.
Dang. Well, only if you want to. Well, we were talking about it, and so for those of you guys who are watching, I mean, I hope you guys get the same. I mean, me, I was mind blown, right? By the way, I knew in my mind that it was kind of like that, the way this document goes, but when you see it written on paper, what it actually does is, and I'll tell you guys a quick story. My very first sales guy that I ever hired, he was like 17. It was crazy. He was getting off of school to come to work with me. And he was just like dang near begging me for a job. And if he sees it, I'm going to share it with him. And he's going to laugh about this. But after about 2 months of begging me for a job, I finally gave him a job. And the thing is, was he accountable? Yes. Did he want to improve? Yes. Did he treat people well? Absolutely. But there were certain things that he just, I don't think clicked for him. And so like part of this sheet, which, you know, you guys can, I guess if you give her your email, she'll send it to you.
Let me kind of explain it to what it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is what we call it, a people analyzer. You guys can't see it, but I'll put a copy on, or put a link over so you guys can get it. But basically it's the core values that I have in my company. And there's a plus sign and a minus sign. So every week you'll say, okay, is this person, have they been accountable to their job? If you put a plus, it's because they have. Did they do, you know, their customer service? Did they sound good on the phone? Were they able to give, you know, the customer options that we offer? You know, I'll do a plus because we listen to the calls. You know, are they seeking for improvement? So it's like core values that I have based on my company, and it's kind of like a grade you do into your staff, so you can see, hey, is this person doing the same core values? Like if I'm seeking for improvement, is that person also seeking for improvement?
Mm-hmm.
Are they all being accountable with their work? Are they team players, or are they being, you know, that rotten egg, or what is it that you call, like
spoiled apple?
That, because we have that. They're like, oh, why do we got to do what they say? Oh, did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
So then they start to put other people against you.
Mm-hmm.
So then at the end, what I have is, do they get it? And this is part of Traction, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can also look. It's on Traction. If you go on the Traction book, it has a copy on there. It's a people analyzer. Do they get it, want it, and they have the capacity? So based on the answers of this, it will tell you if they get what they need to do. Do they want it? Because obviously you're going to have some minus there if they don't want it.
Right.
And then do they have the capacity? Meaning, does this person, are they capable of doing this?
Right there.
So
capable is a big word.
It is. Because, you know, we get so desperate trying to fill in our seats that we're just like, I don't care. Just so it can, in our mind, it makes us feel good that we have someone there. But, you know, we're wasting money and time and energy on wrong people. So it's very important you guys do this with everyone.
Yeah.
And so we learned that.
And so I really didn't learn this till recently, and I had never read the book Traction till really recent. So I had learned this through an 8-year period of like hiring, firing. And I go, wait a second. A lot of people will have some of these things, but not everything. And I'm looking for somebody who checks off the box for every single one of those.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a great staff member, a great employee, a great team member, right? Because you want to be around people who share the same values as you. And that way it doesn't feel so draining. Everyone's on the same page. We're all chasing the same goals. It's about a team effort. I remember what I was going to say earlier, and so it's funny enough. If you guys
You're worse
saw,
than me, man.
No, because I know it was picking. I could feel the heat.
It was
between our heads.
It was really bothering me, and I wrote it down on my workflow while you were talking. I was listening though, and I wrote it down. I talked about giving value first.
Yeah.
Giving value first. So, where I was going with giving value first was I've put on a free class for God knows how long, for about almost 2 years now, nailing your flip numbers. I've done that for free. I was teaching people, like I was sitting there buying Chick-fil-A. I was, hey, come to my office. I was doing that for free.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it didn't pay off immediately. I wasn't getting work off of it immediately.
Right.
But the eventual thing that happened was people started going, oh yeah, that's Luis the 2x4 guy. And I was like, well, yeah, that is me. As a matter of fact.
Hey, that sounds kind of nice.
And so it just started going. It went from Luis the 2x4 guy to, hey, what else do you do? To, yeah, I buy flips. And then it's like, well, this is what I do. I'm a flipper. I'm buying houses, or I'm wholesaling houses. And so what happened was I was giving all this value away for free. Right. I was bringing people. And thank you, by the way, Christina spoke at our last event. Andrea doesn't even know this, but I'm going to ask her to speak at one of my next events. So thank you for speaking at that event.
She did awesome.
Killed it. People were telling me Christina was like, whoa.
She always rocks the show.
Yeah, for real. And so the thing is, like, you know, I might not have all the knowledge, but I realized I was really good at bringing everyone together. And so from that, I built my network. I mean, it's incredible. I would have never imagined in a million years to be sitting in this room with you guys, having this conversation, talking about my experiences with everybody. It's truly humbling for me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
But the thing is, I would have never had that opportunity if I didn't give that value first. I think that by putting on the free events that I do every month, people come back and go, Luis, maybe I didn't blow their mind in that moment, but somebody else did. Or sometimes I do, right? Sometimes I just give them tidbits, and then, just from my experience. And the thing is, where I was going with that is giving value first is how I've been able to just exponentially grow the network, grow the business. And so when you set your goals, giving value has to be part of that. And to kind of tie it in with this, your team members need to give that same value.
Yes.
They need to be able to give value in a way of, hey, am I going to be accountable for doing my tasks? Am I going to treat people right? That's kind of like the VIP, what you're talking about. Am I going to be dedicated to getting better?
And I wanted to kind of add to it before we move on, but this also needs to be done for ourselves as the leader, because this is your staff, but you also have to have one for you as a leader, because, hey, are you providing the right tools that, your salesperson needs, the right systems, the right softwares? Are you explaining what needs to get done?
Right.
Because now, like, whenever I do my onboarding, we do like a checkbox to make sure, like, hey, I explained this to you. Did you understand it? And then I sign and he signs, so that I can make sure that you're telling me you understood this now. So don't come back and say, hey, I didn't understand it, because I'm fulfilling this for you to make sure that, because you signed it, that means that you understand what needs to be done. Right. So those are things that I like to provide, so I can make sure we're all on the same page, and not like, hey, well, here's a script and call it. No, on the script, there's a process to that script. This has to ask first, this second, this third. They have to go through that whole thing exactly. I don't care if someone asks them this, they respond to it, it's going to be right there, and they have to ask that. So you set them up, because I did that for a long time. I didn't have any process or systems, yes, but no process. Just like, here, I don't know how to do it, dude. Figure it out. Because as business owners, we got so much other things that we need to learn. But that's when you kind of have to take a step back and say, you know what, I need to learn this, because how am I going to know if that person's actually doing the right job?
They need to learn. Business owners need to learn the difference between power and position. Just because you're the owner doesn't give you the power to take authority over everyone's personal life, personal being, or none of that. It gives you a position to be a team leader. Because in all honesty, if you're a true business owner and you're really growing and you paid your taxes, you did everything, you know that the business really isn't you. It's not yours, it's you. So that's where you have to learn the power or position. if I choose to represent Martin's Hardware and all this stuff, it's because we built it from the bottom up. Now my kids are big enough, they're doing it. But it becomes a point in time where you have to learn power over position. In order for me to position myself in a way where Luis was saying earlier, I have to do all the business aspects of it, the growth, while everybody else takes their place. And what Andrea said earlier is that if you have those negative nannies in there, they are going to be the ones that you keep that just destroy your empire.
Yeah.
You know, it's to build your empire, not break it. And
So
you
good.
cannot, and you cannot use a busted brick. You know, if you're trying to build a castle and you put a weak brick, that wall is going to come crumbling down very slow. But until it's the demise of you, it's going to take it all away.
Yep.
So you have to know when to plug and play.
Right.
And that's a plug and play.
Yeah.
And that right there alone is going to be what pulls out the negative people, and you're going to see your growth just flourish.
Right.
There's been people that are still with me, and there's some that aren't, that were the ones that told on the other ones. And they let me know they were hated for a long time, but now they've gained the respect. Why? Because they have my respect. So it's
Because they're
almost like
loyal to
because they're
you.
loyal to me, which is to the business. Being
Right.
loyal to me is not being loyal to me as a business. We all eat from that same plate.
Exactly.
So if my business does not grow, then you don't have a business to support, because I have to support that name. It's just how we were talking about the tree. The star is the business, and we are just part of that business. One day I'm like an ornament. I'm gonna croak and I'm gonna fall right off. And I'm hoping that all the other ornaments are gonna shine just as bright as that star. And that's the way you have to see it. And true leaders build stars. They do not build themselves to be more powerful than the people beneath them. We are all aligned equally. It's just that we have a task. And one person, everyone agrees, is going to set that goal, and everybody's going to follow. So that thing right there, I think, is very, very
you
fortunate.
you guys
it's a
can find
it's
this in
good.
Traction. Traction's a great book. I've
Yeah.
actually read that book. I don't know how many times. I go back and
Mhm.
look at it. I have it on audiobook.
Mhm.
Just because you go
Yeah, I
back
did
and you
audio.
listen to it. And it's very, very important, because if you don't have the right people in
Right.
the right seats, it's going to affect you. You have to have a scorecard.
Mhm.
Your business has to have a scorecard. Every week you need to see, hey, how did I do from last week to this week? If something dropped, look at it. Because what
Mhm.
happens, you go so long without looking, and then you're like, shit, how did I go from here to here? You know?
Yeah.
So level 10 meetings every Friday from 9 to 10.
Mhm.
So it's a consistent thing all
Right.
the time.
Mhm.
So that way everyone gets to see, hey, am I doing good, or what do I need to work
Yeah.
on?
Right.
And you know, it's like a business. It's a real
Mhm.
business.
Going back to that, I think it's like when you and using Traction is all about setting the goals, right? So
Mhm.
there's some industry standards that you go off of that, and just an example, like something that I do. When I go, so I leave time in my schedule for in the afternoons to go on appointments,
Mhm.
to go. So I don't do any appointments in the morning. I made an exception because I love y'all.
I know he did.
Because I stopped doing prospecting.
He's
there,
supposed
but-
to be in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's supposed to be prospecting in Puerto Rico.
There you go. There you go.
So the thing is, like, but in the afternoons, I make it a goal to go do meetings. But so one of the things that I set for myself is every day that I'm out and about, I do a couple things. I go do the estimates,
Mhm.
or if I'm doing construction, or if I'm putting an offer on a house, I go do my offer estimate. And then when I'm out and about, I go make sure I do two things. I've got little door hangers that I go do door hangers around.
Mhm.
If I'm doing construction estimates, or if I'm doing an offer, I'm going to check to see if there's anybody around that I have on either a driving for dollars list or the pre-foreclosure list.
Mhm.
I'm going to go leave them a sticky note or do something. Yeah.
Pride over
Yeah.
position.
All day. Oh, and not just that. I'll go hang bandit signs up.
Yeah.
So I've got a little stapler on the side of my truck, and I've got the bandit signs in the back of my truck.
I love that. He puts that on the side, all that pride. Like, I'm not going to do it. I'll do it.
No.
Oh, I do it all the time.
Yes.
No, fuck that. I mean, truth be told is and that's what I'm saying. I've built a business from an ego standpoint that I would never do it. And I did hire people to do that at one point. But I go, you know what? It's not beneath me at all.
Right.
I'll go knock that door. I'll go put that bandit sign out. and I do that because I look back at my goals, right? So like if I go and I'm gonna paint you guys a really quick picture, like, and this is something one of my mentors told me, like, Luis, like if you did 5 let's say post-it notes per day, and you did that, there's average 20 working days in a month, and then by 12 months, so 20 working days by 12 months, that is how many days? 200. Let's see, 12 by, don't ask me to do math, guys, in front of you like that. 12 by, there's 20 working days. It's 240. If I did 5 post-it notes in 240 days, that's 1,200 post-it notes. Do you think I'm going to get a deal on 1,200 post-it notes?
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. And it's like the same thing with bandit signs. If I went to go do 5 bandit signs in a day, every day consistently, right? Do you think after 1,200 bandit signs, am I going to get a deal?
Oh, yeah.
And that's another thing we track. So
Consistency.
So for us to get a deal, we have to at least make, between 15 to 20 offers.
Yep.
So every day that's a thing. We have to make from 3 to 5 offers, good actual offers, because I was already like in my data, I could tell that after we make this, it's just like anything, the postcards, the calls, say, okay, because see, the problem is people will call, but they don't answer, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, I made 100 calls, and this is something I look on my data. Yeah, but you only talk to 5 freaking people. Like, I don't want that. So that told me, like, okay, if I'm calling 100 people and none of them answer, then I have there where you can change your phone number, and you're not changing your freaking phone number, then that's telling me you're here to waste my damn time.
Right.
Because you're not doing anything to get a hold of these people. I send them messages. If they have an email, I'll send them a letter. An email, I'll send them whatever. Like, I'll hit them from every direction. And I call them like 2 to 3 times back to back just to see if they answer. Sometimes they answer upset, but I do whatever it takes. So that's what I like to base the people that I have on sales. Now, if they're cold callers, they're not. The measures is differently. But if you're going to be in sales, I expect that from them. And it's all about, one of my mentors had mentioned, Carlos Reyes. He said you have to have high standards of the people you have around you. Like, don't just hire people just to say it, and then you're like, oh, he came in late, oh, he did this. You make excuses. I do that a lot, I know. But we need to stop doing that, because then it's like you're ruining your own self.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, those people that you let make so many excuses and you make excuses for, at the end of the day, when they no longer need you, they're going to bite you in the ass anyway.
Yes, and that happened to me before too.
You have to understand business is business.
Right.
And that's it. At the end of the day, if you don't have a business, they're going to be the ones saying, oh yeah, look, because she blew all her money or she did this. I won't give you the time or pleasure to be able to say that about me. And
then too, like, you try to help other people out and bring them in and this, but then whenever they don't, like you said, they don't see what's going behind the scenes. You have to pay for marketing, you have to pay for this softwares. All these softwares are very expensive and monthly. So, and then you got to do payroll. So it's like when you make a deal and then you're like, hey, well, I'm only gonna give you this. They're looking at you like, well, that's it. But it's like all the headaches, all the losses, all of everything. People don't take that in consideration. They feel obligated that they should have half of that, and they didn't put in no work. You know what I mean? Like the work, what I mean, the sweat, the equity, you're making the investment. You're the one taking that risk. You're the one who has like a lot of stuff. So I just feel like a lot of people now, you don't want those type of people in your business that are looking at you like, oh, well, this. You want someone that's going to help you grow your company.
There's so many people, though, that are out there, professing their coaching stuff. And are you tired of the 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 and this and that? But you got to understand, how long can you last on that stage?
You know what? That's a really interesting topic. Like, I'm going to ask you guys that. What do you think about, because a lot of millennial people, because they probably think a lot like what I'm saying, right? Like lifestyle. But I do work. Let me not lie to you guys. I still work. I still put in the work.
I think you have an humble soul and an old soul. Old soul and an humble spirit.
Thank you. Well, but the thing is, my question to you is, as you hire more staff members and as you grow your businesses, how do you think, or what do you think you're going to do to overcome those? Like, I don't want to work 9 to 5, or what do you think is a way maybe somebody might be going through the same thing, like
support.
Support.
And I say that because one of my best salespersons at my store, Karen, shout out to you, girl. She has her own balloon company. She's a mom. She has her 3 girls. She just had her baby. She works her ass off at my store and she busts themselves out the seams. But she still has her little balloon company on the side. She does all kinds of little decorative balloon arrangements and stuff. And so you support them. Because sometimes we have that screenshot thing where you can see what they're doing. So we see when during the hours of work they're posting their business, and it's okay.
I didn't really understand the question.
The question was,
I was like,
how do you overcome in a market like today, where if we're trying to employ more people or build a better business, how do you overcome people who have that or overcome a mentality of people who they're seeing that, the coaches and the gurus saying 9 to 5, quit your 9 to 5, sell this thing on Amazon.
Stop building your employer. Stop being employed.
So like, how do the people that I hire?
How do you overcome that to bring in more quality people into your company? What are some of the things that you, or maybe I should ask you like this: what are some of the things that you do to bring quality people, and what are some of the things that you look for? So what do you do to find quality people? And we kind of talked about it. You use EOS traction, but then like when you're trying to, so she said like you're supporting people, they might have other side hustles. What is it that you do to build a better team culture, stronger staff members that will stick with you?
Well, what I see in people, and I know they're going to be good. So when I started, I'm the type of person when you want something, and if they really want it, it will show, right? So because whenever I'm hiring or I sit in an interview, a lot of people tell, I want to change my life. I want, but whenever it's time to do it, they don't understand that in order for that to change, they have to change, right?
Yeah.
So I look at the first week of how they handle anything. Do they want to stay later? Do they come in earlier? If they haven't gotten a deal, do they stay later to get a deal? Or like, oh, heck no, I didn't get nothing. I'm going to try to work in the weekend because that's your job. So are they learning? Are they reading books? So everything, I pay attention on how they handle rejection. I pay attention on how they handle rejection, how they handle their calls, how they handle themselves. Do they complain a lot? Meaning, there's all that on the phones, or, oh my God, no one's answering. Well, then do something about it. You know what I mean? So I look at that. Okay. And then I go back to this and I'm like, okay, because you can't really tell who a person is until you actually give them that opportunity. Yeah. And I don't even look at resumes. Everything I can tell you, write you the best resume and you're going to hire me. I look at actions. Yeah. So the first week, I really, really pay attention to everything they do, everything, how they handle, do they cuss a lot, their belief system, they're like, oh my God, did you hear this on the news? Yeah. Like, I don't want that. I want people that are going to focus more on their growth, on themselves, because then you have to be around that too, so I don't want to deal with that. I've had that before where it was like a lot of complaining and all that, and then I'm like, man, why I feel so drained all the time? But that's because they drain you.
That's true.
So now I make it to a point, anything that disturbs my peace, or I'm like, oh, I didn't like how she said that or this, I don't want it. I get to choose what I have around me. So that's one thing I look at. And then how do I get to keep the talent? Well, I sell them my dream. Right. And I'm like, if you want to be part of this dream, but I will tell you, the hustle sold separately. You can be part of this. Yeah. You can be part of this. And I'm like a ride or die. I'm not. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I'm here every day, and I don't have to be here every day, but I love what I do. I love what I do. So to me, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like either I'm helping a seller out, or I'm helping to solve a problem, or whatever, or I'm learning something. I'm always getting myself into some kind of shit. So, I'm always, I'm always learning something. So, and I'm okay with making mistakes, and that's one thing that I like to bring up, for new wholesalers and people. You're going to find people in this industry that will try to bully you, that will try to get you wrapped and this and that, and then try to say, oh, you're this or you're that, and really question who you really are. And because that's something that I'm like going through right now, and I'm like, wait a minute, and I'm a girl, but I'll tell you, it takes a lot for you to get under my skin. Like, I'm not going to let you just tell me this and I'm like folded. Oh no, I'm going to fight back. But what I'm saying is, there's people out there that are so good at manipulating situations that will put you in situations you're like, wait, what? That's not even how this went down, but that's where it goes to all of this. You have to know who you are, and also be ready, especially in real estate. Be ready, because you're always going to have people that will make just get you into something, or just learning. It'd be okay to make mistakes, is what I'm saying.
And I'm gonna add to that, like, one of the thoughts, because sometimes I think before we got on live, you were talking about, Christina, how you journal or you write things down a lot. I do the same thing, and I do it in a way to just keep perspective on my day to day. And talking about mistakes, one of the things I was thinking about, probably like late last night, I was thinking, it's easy for us to dwell on our mistakes, but the more that we dwell on those mistakes, the more you're going to manifest or create. Like,
the more you think about it.
Yeah. It should really be like, how can we, instead of focus on the negatives, how can we focus on the positive things? Like, what actions can I do to fix this situation? Right. So like, for the new guys who like haven't got their first deal yet, what are you doing to fix it? Are you making those calls? Are you staying at, like you said, after an hour if you need to, or after hours? Are you making calls or text messages on the weekend? Like, what actions are you taking to ensure that you do not make those same mistakes again? And I think that's so important, that makes for a great staff member, and not just a great staff member, but makes you a better leader.
Right.
Focus on those actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, everybody's here for that American dream. And I'm going to tell you, like right now, like Robert at 249, he braids hair and does garage doors. And it's a whole network of things that people do, Like I said, Karen does balloons. Sandra does eyelashes.
Interesting combo.
Yeah, think about it. And they're there. And they're present. And sometimes they get in their mode. But you got to let people understand. And I think training is what helps them understand. Because all they see is all these people in real estate flashing these $100,000 and $200,000 checks. But what about the deductions that came with it? What about the overhead that came with it? What about all that stuff?
I'm about to post the taxes I'm about to pay.
All those things, So I just had a lady call me last night. She was telling me, I have 40,000. There's this house for 42. I can knock them down. I can get a loan. I can do this. I said, yeah, but the ARV is like 130, 75% of that, that's all you're going to get, but you still got to pay that difference. They don't understand the loan process. They just think, I'm going to take this deal and I'm going to get a loan and I don't want to bring my own money. Yes, you do. It doesn't work. So she gave me this whole breakdown, and I'm like, what happened to closing costs? What happened to holding costs? What happened to utilities? What happened to insurance? What happened to all these things? And this is what they forget. Because why? They haven't done a deal. And why? Because they got coached by somebody that has not done a damn deal.
Yeah, because not a lot of people include those costs.
No, because they don't know. They're not living it. They're not living, just like him with 2x4 construction. What happens? His clients and his employees may see a $400,000, $500,000 construction bid. Yes, but what about the material? I'm telling you right now that we only make 10 to 30 cents on one board. Yeah, that's it. I'm putting $7 to sell it for $8.39 to make nothing. $1.39. But by the time it's been handled, come on, it's a wash. But there's a constant cash flow that, it makes money on the other things, but people don't see that. So I really try to implement that part on my employees because no, girl, we're paying $329 to give it to them for $349. We can't do it. And they stay firm. Now, the ones that aren't studying that, those are the ones that throw out the stupid numbers.
And people right now are paying. I mean, look at eggs. I mean, I still need eggs. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Especially right now. I need to get all that oil out. No, but like, people are going to pay the price.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
if you want to get ahead, you're going to pay the price. You know, the one thing I tell people, find yourself. Right now, it's a little bit slower. It's okay. Position yourself because you're going to be probably if you're with the right people, you're going to be making a good decision to find yourself a mentor, to find yourself a coach, and ask them, what have you done? What have you truly done? Not what has your students done? What have you done? How many have you closed on? What have you done? Did you own, if they're selling you a flip and all they're doing is selling you a piece of paper, but they've never done the actual flip. Well, guess what? What can they teach you?
Absolutely.
So I think that's very, like you were saying, you were giving those free meetups and stuff, how to estimate, the cost and the build. And some people are like, oh, I did this, but they're subcontractors. That's way different. That's a whole, they're not doing the work. They don't know the gains and the loss, you have to know.
Well, and I find that a lot of, and this is really interesting, I'm not any different than what you're doing, and I'm not doing anything different that you're doing.
Yeah.
The people that I usually work for in construction, usually they haven't done the deals that you've done. They haven't done the amount of deals you've done. And, the thing is, I won't let somebody do a deal knowingly buy into a deal where even my markup doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like, so especially people that hit me up and go, I have no idea what this stuff costs.
Right.
I go, well, and it's not like construction, I'm killing it in construction on a deal. Sometimes I'm not. I'm really not. But the thing is, like, what I offer as a service in construction is only packaging up the same tasks that you do as a real estate investor.
Right.
But I'm helping people go from I've never done a deal to, wow, I made a deal work using 2x4.
Right.
Imagine it gets better when if you even want to go down that path of handling yourself, because it's a job.
It's a job.
Yes,
it's a job.
Yeah, managing subcontractors is not easy. Jose and Pancho might not show up because they got drunk last night, or
they're not insured
all the time.
Yeah, they fell off the roof.
Just all kinds of stuff. Or like, hey, I have one guy go, hey, I got to go to Miami because I've got to fill out immigration papers. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Like, dude, you're in the middle of my project.
I'm like, you better bring me your cousin.
Yeah. Better bring me your cousin.
Somebody.
He can sit in for you.
Yeah. So it's like, dealing with that. Me as the GC, I have to go, oh, I gotta transition, I got flex. As the end buyer, they don't feel that. They
No.
And that's a big reason why, not to say I'm not doing 2x4 construction. I am, but it's just that I made it more of a focus to how can I position myself to take advantage.
Responsibility.
Yeah.
Because that's a responsibility.
Well, and the problem is, even if I'm in.
We already went to like an hour and 30 minutes.
Oh shit! Really?
I didn't even see that.
Damn.
I was like, what's going on?
Oh, okay. So we're still rolling?
We're still rolling.
We're still rolling.
I wanted to go back. So what?
Oh, okay. So what I was saying was that even though I'm incredibly competent in construction, and there's plenty of people that are too, that's what I teach in Nailing Your Flip Numbers. That it's like, I want to give you a construction range.
Sorry.
Huh?
I was talking to him.
Okay. Yeah, I want to give a construction range so that you can buy the deal right. It's not about how can I get this to the exact penny, right? Because you've done, and you both have done a lot of construction deals. Like, have you and any of them ever gone to exactly to the dollar that you estimated?
Oh, never.
So the thing is, but you put it in a budget range so that when you buy it makes sense, right?
Right.
I learned that on my first deal, and so it's like, I say that just to say that if I make a mistake, even within that range, which is what I learned to do, I learned to put in a range. I still give estimates, but things flux.
Mhm.
I'm the idiot all of a sudden when the property is not bought right. I'm the one that catches. Lewis, you freaking idiot! How dare you? How dare you give me a bid this low? And with all these problems, I didn't see behind the wall.
Yeah.
Right. And so the problem is I get frustrated with that because I'm the town idiot if something goes wrong. I'm like looked up to, like, thank God you were here when things go right. But if we have to do a $10,000 replumb, all of a sudden I'm the asshole who's trying to kill it.
Right.
When it's like not really. So all that to say, I realize there's a lot of responsibility and burden owning that. So I will still do construction, but I see on the other side where flippers, again, doing the same tasks I'm doing, but they do get paid less. However, there's a little more meat on the bone. There's a little more margin. So I will do construction for other people. And what I was going with that is that he told me it was over here. I don't know where I was going with that. But all that to say that well, you were saying something. Should be writing notes, guys.
No, well, what I was gonna say was that we're all like,
I did have a good one to say. I was gonna say, like, for people that are starting, their wholesale, like they're trying to see, hey, how am I doing? So what I had like my kids and myself do is pretend like if so you tell me, hey, I want to achieve this goal, and pretend that I'm following you everywhere you're going, and I'm gonna be your judge to see, hey, does Christina says she wants to enjoy life more, right? And then I'm following Christina everywhere, and I'm looking at her, okay, is she enjoying life? But it's kind of like you have to, if someone was following you to see everything that you did that day to match what you say you wanted to do, it's something good, because you have to write down what you're doing so you can see, because a lot of people are like, yeah, I made 5 phone calls, or I made 2 phone calls, and where's the success? Like, it's gonna require more of that,
right?
So write things down, like, okay, if I want to get a deal, then I would say you need to make at least 50 to 60 phone calls a day to maybe get a deal. So if you were to do that for 2 weeks, but actually make those calls, sit down or hire someone, then you will get it. But if you're saying I want to get a deal, but you're at home watching TV and all of that, well, I tried, I called, and then you want people to feel sorry for you because you said you tried and it didn't work, then to me, if you want something to happen, either you're going to make it work or you're not. Like, there's no in between. Like, when people say, well, I tried to do this and I couldn't, well, then you didn't try hard enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when somebody wants to actually achieve something, you best believe if they want it bad enough, they will get it. And if they don't get it, it's because they didn't want it bad enough. Simple as that. Right. There is no, well, I didn't have a mom, or I didn't have a dad, or I didn't, it's either you want it bad enough or you don't. So that's how I handle people here when they tell me, well, I want to make money. Well, you're not doing things that are going to help you make money. So I let people kind of let themselves speak for themselves, right?
Because you write the formula and they rewrite the whole script, and you're like, well, what was the point? That's what I call an ask hole. They're an asshole. They'll ask and ask and ask, but they don't do anything, and they just they just suck you dry, and that's the thing. You give it to them. You're giving it to them on paper what to do, and they don't want to do it. So those people don't fit into your realm, because they will exhaust you.
Right.
They will definitely exhaust you.
Right. Yeah. And imagine, like, that's why I love going around doers, because when I'm around them, they're not like, oh my God, did you see the news or this? Like, it's like, hey, what is the next move? What are we going to do? Or how are we going to pivot? What are the things we're going to focus on to kind of, loop around whatever the situation.
Yeah, it is.
Not with people that are going to complain and this, So it's very important, guys, that you watch what you do, or who's in your ear, or what are you watching, because if you're watching the news, you're gonna fill yourself with scarcity. Go
Yeah.
read the Bible. Maybe you fill yourself with confidence. You know,
Mhm.
it's like they're both providing something to
Right.
you. So why go with the one that's going to put fear and not put the one that's going to add faith, you know? So that's why it's what's in your ear, what's in
Right.
your ear every day, because that's what's going to hold you back. Because if you're putting stuff in your ear that's going to give you go that faith in you, then you're going to take more risk, you know, risk chances, because you're
Right.
going to be like, hey, I got this. Well, I'm the one who's holding myself back. I'm putting this fear inside of me, thinking like, hey, the market's going to crash, and I've been sitting doing nothing because I've been waiting for it to get better. Then you're going to be sitting there for a while.
You're on the sidelines, and just it all came full circle, because you're right. Who you surround yourself with will, I mean, like they say, show me your 5 friends and you'll be number 6.
Yeah.
If all 5 of your friends are drinking every weekend, guess what? You're
You're
probably
number 6,
drinking
yeah.
every weekend.
Mhm.
If all 5 of your friends are killing it in real estate investing, guess what? They're going to yank your ass right up to
Yep.
do that too.
Mhm.
And so that was a big part of those free events. That's what we were talking about. We were talking
Right.
about events and what sucked the energy out of you. And just to come full circle, part of the running those events was, I know I don't know everything. Like, do I know a lot? Sure.
Mhm.
And you know something that I don't probably, and you know something that I don't. And I might know something that neither of you know.
Mhm.
Maybe, I don't know, right?
Right.
But you won't know that until you surround yourself with
Mhm.
people who are doing,
Right.
and you go, well, Lewis, I just picked up this multifamily. Oh, great. Well, I've done multifamily work, but I've never picked up multifamily. Maybe you help me with that, right? And then you go, well, Lewis, I've never done this thing. And I go, well, shit, I've done like that 100 times.
Right.
And so, you know, building each other up, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Mhm.
I think it's so important to be around people who are doing what you want to do, even if you've never done it.
Right.
Are you going to those networking meetings?
Right.
Are you, you know, on YouTube University? Are you paying for coaching? Like, if you haven't done a deal, guys, being in rooms like just example, the one tomorrow, that's going to be an incredible event. There's events like that once a week, twice a week. Like
Right.
that's part of when we talk about consistency. On my calendar, I have my admin put out, I have to go to 2 networking events every week.
Yeah.
She's posting in the Facebook groups 5 times a day, every single day. I have to go do those yard signs every freaking day. I don't care if I'm sick. I don't care if my head hurts. You know, I don't care if I got Mocosaw coming out. For those of you who don't know what
I locked the deal up when I had COVID.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I mean,
So-
I didn't know I had COVID. I was in denial about it. I
Yeah.
was all like,
She was in
suicide. But you get it done.
Get it done by any means necessary.
But I don't like, to me in my head is like, I don't care if I have, like, that doesn't get in my way.
Yep.
And it's some people are just waiting for that. Oh, I think I'm
No.
sick. I'm gonna stay. Like,
Mhm.
they're just waiting for that one. Oh, they have a little flat. Oh, I have a flat. Sorry, I can't
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah.
So I look at, hey, I had a flat, but guess what? I'm on my way in the Uber.
Yeah.
That's the type of actions I see. So, like, for example, if someone wants to call in, I have a flat, and they don't come, and it's someone versus, hey, I have a flat, but I'm gonna still be there in an Uber. That can tell me their commitment. How committed are these people?
Right.
So
Right.
I just let people, everyone kind of shows you their actions
Yeah.
pretty much. We let them.
The one thing that I think is very important, and it's something that I've been working on a lot, is working with individuals on structuring your actual business.
Mhm.
And the reason is because you can get a lawnmower, like I say, and you can go cut a grass, and everybody says I started a business. But when it's time to grow and leverage your money, you can't do it. You've been structured wrong. So
Mhm.
that's why, like I started, a couple workshops and seminars on where we do it. We just had our first one, and we had a really good turnout, and people were really just structured wrong. And
Mhm.
I mean, with what happened with Andrea, she wasn't structured wrong. It was just getting the lines of credit that she needed. So basically, I myself, and I spoke on it over there with Lewis, is I was not ashamed to say that I had a big IRS lien and all the things that were happening. It is something that can happen to me and to you.
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're still working and buying things out of your personal name for your business, you done did it wrong. You should be 100% structured to work out of your business. Go on vacation out of your business. Buy things for the office out of your business accounts. If you're doing it out of your personal accounts, you're doing it completely wrong. So that is something that, I think a lot of new business owners are doing wrong. Even the lady that cuts hair, even the lady that's at the nail shop, they're like, I can't get a loan. And I'm looking at their papers. I'm like, because your business isn't growing, it is your name. And then, and this is where I said, and it's real simple for numbers, okay? With everything I have, I can't make more than $250,000 a year. They're going to tax me like I'm retarded. You know, there's so much things you can write off. So anyway, $250 a year, but I'm paying more than $350,000 a month in payments. So who's not going to audit me, or who's not going to come after me? That is the typical structure, the wrong structure that I set myself up in, but I didn't know. So basically, like I said, you know, an IRS agent was kind enough to really help me, educate me, sit with me, make me understand. It's like I got IRS University, literally, like, but I learned it, you know, going from a 17 million to a 9 to a 7, you know, it's like, wow, you know, there are certain ways, but if you're not doing your taxes and you're not building your business credit, you're not doing it right. I'm going to tell you, you're going to grow and you're going to hate it when they take it all away.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm telling you, because they suspended our social security numbers. It's like we were non-documented.
Jesus.
Yeah, they will suspend your social security number. So here we are. My son spoke on it. Here we are with over $2 million in a couple properties we wanted to pawn to pay off a debt. We couldn't even get a loan. Why? Because it was locked. It was locked. So here you are with 100, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15, $20 million. And they will not let you pull a loan on your own assets because your social security is locked.
Damn.
Yeah.
And then you just got to go out there and shake your ass and do whatever you can to make that money.
OnlyFans.
Hey, create that OnlyFans account.
And whatever it was, we got out of it. We got out of it. And so that's what kind of led me to start doing what I'm doing now, which I'm going to be over there talking about with you, because of the fact that there are a lot of debts. People are like, no, you know, I just want to pay cash.
That's the Mexican story.
That's the Mexican way of doing it. Is whatever is cash in your pocket, that's all you're worth. But if you really want to have a growing business, you want to be worth $2 million in a business, but you are different from that business because you don't want somebody to come and take everything away because you hit somebody in the back, you know, at a stoplight, you know, and they're going to see all that, but that doesn't belong to you. It doesn't pertain to you at all. So you need to learn how to set yourself up the correct way and split all that up like fast, you know, and structure your paperwork right. If you're still doing it in a DBA, you're doing it wrong. If you're in an LLC and you're corporate level, you better switch it.
Yep.
You know, if you need to put some stuff in some trust, you better do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, tomorrow I'm going to be at the Quest IRA building.
Yes.
We'll be there from 6 to 9. Come
I'll
say
be
hello.
there.
Christina will be there. You be there?
I have to. It's because we have LYA at Lakewood.
Oh,
Okay.
It's
yeah.
young service for
Okay.
I'm trying to keep my teenagers.
There you
It's
go.
important.
That is
Good.
important. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's okay.
She'll be there in spirit.
It's-
I'll have her picture right there.
It's important. It's important. Someone invited me to a party on Saturday, but I'm actually going to go to. I go to Hope City,
okay.
so I'm going to be at worship night. So I'm not.
I like
like-
Hope City.
Yeah,
I like it a
I'm
lot.
not going to be. I'm not going to be at that party. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys so
Thank
much
you.
for letting me. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Christina.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you guys next
And have
time.
fun in Puerto Rico when you get there.
I know I will.
Yeah, have fun for us.